You are a nobody. Just another face lost in the endless, gray sea of the modern city. Every day, you wake up to the sound of rain hitting the cracked window of your tiny, damp apartment. You wear the same plain black hoodie, your messy dark hair falling over eyes that have long since stopped looking for meaning. You are utterly bored. The world around you feels like a repetitive simulation, filled with people chasing hollow dreams and empty promises. You work a dead-end job, staring at a flickering monitor in a basement office where the air is stale and time stands still. They call you the bored one behind your back, but they don't understand. It is not that you lack ambition, it is that you see the absolute futility of their pathetic existence. You crave something real. Something raw. And one evening, while walking through a forgotten alleyway under the neon glow of a flickering street lamp, you find it. A strange, tattered flyer pinned to a rotting door. No words. Just a symbol, a triangle enclosing an eclipsed sun. You tear it from the wood. For the first time in your life, your pulse quickens. The symbol becomes an obsession. You spend your nights scrolling through encrypted forums and dark web archives, searching for its meaning. You stop sleeping. Your apartment transforms into a chaotic web of red strings and pinned photographs. The boredom that plagued your existence is replaced by a burning, manic curiosity. You discover that the symbol belongs to an ancient, unnamed order, a group that rejects modern society and believes in a higher, darker truth hidden deep within the forests. They do not advertise, they wait to be found by those who are truly awake. You pack a single bag. You leave your apartment door wide open, walking away from the simulation forever. You take a bus to the very edge of the city, where the concrete bleeds into dense, towering pines. The air grows cold and thick with fog. You walk for miles into the wilderness, guided only by vague coordinates and a strange, pulling sensation in your chest. The modern world fades away, replaced by the eerie silence of the deep woods. And then, you see it. Through the mist, massive wooden gates loom in the darkness. You have arrived. They do not welcome you with open arms. You are brought before the elders, silent, terrifying figures draped in ragged robes, their faces hidden behind bone masks. The compound is a sprawling network of wooden cabins and ancient stone altars, illuminated only by the flickering light of torches. You are stripped of your name and given a simple gray tunic. You are at the absolute bottom of the hierarchy. For months, your life is nothing but grueling, back-breaking labor. You chop wood in the freezing rain, carry stones up the mountain, and clean the sacrificial altars. You are beaten when you show weakness and starved when you speak out of turn. But you do not break. Because underneath your deadpan, bored expression, you are absorbing everything. You watch how the elders speak. You study how they manipulate the fears of the lower initiates. You realize that this is not a place of magic, it is a masterclass in psychological control. You embrace the suffering. The weak ones cry for their mothers, but you remain utterly silent. They think they are breaking you, but they are only sharpening you into a blade. Your silence earns you their attention. The elders notice your unbreakable gaze and promote you to an acolyte. You trade the gray tunic for your signature plain black hoodie, a symbol of your unique status. You are no longer performing manual labor, you are allowed into the inner sanctum, a massive wooden hall filled with ancient texts and burning incense. Here, you are taught the true doctrine. You learn the ancient chants, the psychological triggers, and the art of stripping a human mind down to its foundation. You become an assistant during the initiation rituals. You stand in the shadows, holding a torch, watching as new recruits are terrified into submission. But you see the flaws in the elders' methods. They rely too heavily on fear, when true loyalty is built on devotion. You begin to whisper to the other acolytes in the dark of the night. You don't threaten them, you offer them understanding. You become the ear they confess their doubts to. Slowly, quietly, you are weaving a web of influence right under the noses of the masters. You are no longer just an observer. You are playing the game. The tipping point arrives during the festival of the eclipse. A massive bonfire rages in the center of the compound, and hundreds of followers gather in a frenzied trance. The high priest, an arrogant and aging man, attempts to perform the sacred blood ritual, but his hands shake. He stumbles over the ancient words. The crowd senses his weakness, a dangerous murmur ripples through the followers. The illusion of his absolute power shatters. In that exact moment of chaos, you step forward from the shadows. You do not shout. You do not panic. With your trademark deadpan expression, you take the ceremonial dagger from his trembling hands. You finish the chant with perfect, chilling precision. The crowd falls completely silent, captivated by your absolute calm. The high priest tries to command the guards to seize you, but they do not move. They look at you. In a single night, the hierarchy collapses. The followers do not want an old man who fears the dark, they want a leader who embodies it. You do not kill the high priest. You simply let the crowd banish him into the freezing wilderness. The throne is empty. And you take your seat. You are now the master. The massive wooden throne belongs to you. You do not change your attire, you remain in your black hoodie, a stark contrast to the extravagant robes of the past. It makes you seem relatable, yet untouchably profound. You restructure the entire compound. You replace fear with absolute, fanatical devotion. You isolate the compound completely from the outside world, jamming radio frequencies and blocking the forest trails. You introduce a new doctrine, that the outside world is a rotting corpse, and this forest is the only sanctuary of truth. You deliver sermons standing before a massive, burning wooden statue, your voice calm, hypnotic, and reasonable. You manipulate their desire for purpose. You give them a sense of belonging so deep that they would gladly walk into the flames for you. The compound expands. New recruits arrive not by accident, but drawn by the whispers of a Messiah who feels nothing, yet understands everything. You look out over a sea of hundreds of devoted faces, all wearing skull masks, all staring up at you with terrified reverence. The boredom is gone. You are playing God, and you are winning. Absolute power brings absolute paranoia. The compound has grown into a heavily fortified settlement. Armed guards patrol the perimeters in the dead of night. You sit in your luxurious, dimly lit cabin, surrounded by ancient artifacts and maps. You realize that loyalty is fragile. To maintain control, you must create an external enemy. You convince your followers that the government is planning to raid the sanctuary, that the unclean world is coming to destroy their pure existence. You initiate rigorous, militaristic training. The chants of peace turn into battle cries. You watch from a balcony as hundreds of your followers march in unison, carrying torches and makeshift weapons. But the paranoia seeps into your own mind. You stop eating food prepared by others, terrified of poison. You trust no one. The very acolytes you once manipulated are now looking at you with the same hungry eyes you once had. You realize that in a cult of personality, the leader is both the absolute ruler and the ultimate prisoner. You have built a fortress, but it is quickly becoming a cage. The inevitable clash happens. A missing persons report leads local authorities to the edge of the forest. They send a small reconnaissance team to investigate the compound. The alarm bells ring through the night air. Your followers, brainwashed into absolute hysteria, do not wait for your command. They ambush the authorities. The forest erupts in chaos. From your throne room, you hear the distant sounds of shouting, the crack of gunfire, and the roaring of flames. The illusion of a peaceful sanctuary is shattered in an instant of violent reality. You walk out into the compound. It is a nightmare of fire and shadows. Your followers are fighting like wild animals, their faces twisted in fanatical rage. The authorities are calling for massive backup. You know exactly how this ends. There is no escaping the full force of the modern world. You have successfully created a kingdom, but it is built on a foundation of gasoline, and the match has just been dropped. You stand amidst the chaos, your expression completely blank. You are not afraid. You are simply calculating the final move. The compound is surrounded. Helicopters hover above, their massive spotlights cutting through the smoke and illuminating the terrified faces of your followers. Sirens wail in the distance. The authorities demand immediate surrender over loudspeakers. Panic sets in among the cult. They look to you, their God, for salvation. They expect a miracle. You gather them in the main hall. You look at their desperate, tear-stained faces. You could tell them to fight and die for you. You could tell them to surrender. Instead, you do what you have always done, you manipulate the narrative. You tell them that this is not a defeat, it is the great ascension. You tell them that the physical world is ending, and the only way to true freedom is to leave it behind on your own terms. You distribute a special sacrament, a dark liquid in wooden cups. You watch with a chilling, deadpan calm as hundreds of people, blinded by absolute devotion, raise the cups to their lips. You do not drink. You simply sit on your throne, watching the horrifying climax of your own creation unfold. The silence that follows is deafening. The authorities breach the main hall, their weapons drawn, only to freeze in absolute horror. The room is still. You are the only one left alive, sitting calmly on your massive wooden throne, your hands resting in your pockets. You do not resist as they put the handcuffs on you. You do not speak as they lead you through the smoldering ruins of your empire, past the flashing red and blue lights of 100 police cruisers. They push you into the back of an interrogation room. A detective slams a file on the table, shouting at you, demanding to know why. Why the manipulation? Why the tragedy? You look at him, your messy hair falling over your eyes. You offer no grand philosophy. You offer no apologies. You simply lean forward, staring directly into the camera in the corner of the room, and whisper the chilling truth. Because I was bored. You are a monster. But worse, you are a monster who feels absolutely nothing. And as the heavy steel door of the maximum security cell slams shut, you realize the ultimate irony. You are back exactly where you started. Trapped in a gray room. But this time, the whole world knows your name.